Welcome everyone to Biz Talk here on CGTN. I'm Michael Wang here in Beijing. Our focus today, tourism. According to the UN World Tourism Organization, the sector is one of the fastest growing in the world. Business volume related to tourism equals or even surpasses oil exports, food products, or automobiles. And 5.5 billion. That's the number of domestic trips expected by the China Tourism Academy in 2023, generating travel revenues of around 700 billion US dollars as forecasted by China's Ministry of Culture and Tourism. So for more on the tourism industry, I want to bring into our conversation Zorica Jurosovic is the executive director of the United Nations World Travel Organization, and Zorica joins us live now from Madrid. So Zorica, welcome to the program. Good to have you on the show. I'd love to get your view in terms of how the UNWTO is really promoting sustainable tourism these days in a post-pandemic era.
Thank you very much for having UNWTO on the call. Technology have been critical even during the crisis. We launched innovation competition for startups to share what would be the possible technologies that could be helping even during the crisis. This was the biggest uptake ever. It was called Helix Solutions. And we had about 3,000 submissions from all over the globe. Actually, some of these technologies have been used 2 years after by many countries to actually monitor testing, entry, protocols, and so on. So we definitely have a stake in that sphere. Regardless of that, technologies have as well been enabling many destinations and private sector and properties to be on the market, just simply by being present on the web. So basically, that is something that is a trend that is going to continue. It has created an incredible uptake. It was already on the very high curve of growth, but it has even increased during the crisis and the post-crisis.
Yeah.
To respond to your question on how do we take up sustainability, you very well know that we have all seen these pictures of the world without a cloud, the world without a red, the world without emissions. I think that we have seen during the pandemic that we had to adapt our lifestyles very seriously. We could not go out. We had to find our own space and happiness at home or very clear to home. This is a pattern that has influenced many changes in the customer behavior, looking for places which are calm, quiet, where people can regenerate even closer to their homes. But as well, it has changed a lot in the governance of destinations. And we have seen that we can live differently. I think that the consciousness of the climate footprint, the carbon footprint, when it comes to travel, has become something very much in the mind of people. It is something that people are very conscious, and the demand for sustainable destinations or products and experiences has been increasing. But as well, there has been a shift in the type of destinations. There has been a diversification in the destination people want to visit. For example, during the crisis, many countries, such as China, for example, and in Europe, this has been a huge success. Travel in their own country, in the countryside, in mountains, in rural area has increased. And actually, currently, we just had a survey with all our member states. One of the most important initiatives that they appreciate in the work we do is the development of rural tourism.
Yeah.
So there is a trend on that.
Yeah.
There is a huge trend. And there is as well a huge trend on changing the patterns in terms of consumption and production on the SDG 12, which relates to energy efficiency, water efficiency.
Yeah. But Zorica, then are you concerned then that we might see a slowdown in global tourism in perhaps the near or medium term based on what you just described, that tourists might turn a little bit more inward domestically for towards their own countries. I mean, inflation is still quite high in many parts of the world. There's a lot of global economic uncertainty. However, tourism, of course, brings a lot of development and revenue for many local communities around the world. So my first question, or my first follow-up is, are you concerned about that inward shift towards more domestic tourism and less international travel?
I don't think the trend is going to go down to curve. And despite, as you rightfully say, the increase of prices, the prices elasticity that has to be reflected because of the various economic crises that we are going through, people are still traveling. You can just see it by the incredible uptake and recovery rates in many destinations. I mean, currently we are at 80% for the first quarter globally for international tourism recovery against 2019 numbers. And some regions such as the Middle East have done 15% more than the level of 2019.
Yeah.
So I think there is a shift in the desirable destination, and we can sense it. But I don't think that people are going to reduce travel. They may be going to travel longer when they go abroad, so that they can capitalize on their trip and on the costs that incurs. They might decide to do maybe 2 destinations instead of 1. Yeah. So combining this, that is as well for saving on cost, but as well satisfying yourself. And as I say, travel is part of our dreams and DNA today. It's really part of the lifestyle. Everybody aspires to travel. And on your question on increasing domestic, we have seen an incredible uptake, and I'm sure in China you monitor very well as well domestic tourism. I mean, you have seen a huge increase, which has brought, of course, not foreign exchange, because this is the expenditure capacity of local population and citizens, but it has brought a lot of jobs. And it has actually maintained many jobs which were at risk while international tourism ceased.
Yeah. You talked about the UNWTO supporting rural tourism. I think that is absolutely a fantastic idea, because we see a lot of over-tourism in so many cities around the world, the major well-known destinations around the world. So what is the UNWTO doing specifically to promote more rural tourism? I mean, are you working with local governments, right, national governments, local communities? Yeah. What's going on that front?
In 2020, before we even knew that we were going into a COVID crisis and a pandemic, the Secretary General Paul Olekashvili launched, we have a theme every year, and he launched the theme of tourism for rural development. And as you very well know, tourism has the capacity for economic diversification of rural area, because rural area mainly relate on agriculture, and tourism is an incredible value added as an activity to activities in rural area and remote area. Of course, there are some critical steps in accessibility and so on, but the potential is there. So we have launched an initiative called the Best Tourism Villages, which is an initiative which provides, I can say, a ranking, very fair ranking with criteria and indicators. But we do not stop there. What we have as well is we have a number of destination, mainly villages, which are then supported to be upgraded to the best tourism villages, meaning that it is like it's like a micro destination management model that we developed, which works very well, offering online training, but as well on-site training for improving their level and their standards to comply with the criteria of one of the best destinations in villages.
.360-degree profiles of industry movers and shakers, tech mavericks, and policymakers. We drill down on their success. We ask how they set strategy and how they navigate in an increasingly competitive market. Real talk real business. Join the conversation. Biz Talk, only on CGTN.
Zurita, these great tourism villages, I think, is a fantastic idea when it comes to boosting local development as well. But again, I want to ask you in terms of how do people actually get there? Because a lot of these places might be a little bit remote. So how should governments, you think, in the private sector think about balancing these various trade-offs? We need the infrastructure to get there, but then we also need sustainability as well. We need to maybe avoid over-tourism. We need the sustainability of these local villages. So how do we make all these trade-offs, you think?
Actually, it's a very good question, and as I said, this is one of the main challenges in developing, I can say, rural tourism in rural area. The economic diversification that can be catalyzed by tourism when it comes to remote area is definitely going to benefit if there is any development plan from the region, from the country, to connect to main hubs, such as main cities or places where there is a connectivity with planes bringing people directly or by car, depending on where we are, or by train. And I think train has become a very, very important way to travel. Now, because the people that are going in rural area, they are happy to rent a car or they even travel by train. It's maybe as well different type of customers. They maybe travel 2,000 kilometers from the country of origin to another country to go in a remote area, because the COVID crisis, had taught us as well that we commute differently when it comes to local area. But the most important is, as you said, infrastructure development, roads and connectivity, and as well utility, capacity to absorb a certain volume of external visitors, being it for energy, for water, and so on. So one of the models that really works is that when the vision is embedded, when tourism is part of a model for revitalization of those areas, where it is taken as a holistic approach, which includes, of course, connectivity, but as well utilities that are required to be an infrastructure building that are required to allow that. But despite all of this, I can say that people always find their way if they discover a place that they are attracted to. And I think the social media are playing an incredible role. I think that the social media are creating a completely new sphere of desirable discovery. And what you just earlier said on Culture 3.0, imagination is today certainly one of the most incredible strength or intelligence, while we are creating places and spheres and spaces, such as in the metaverse, where everybody wants to go and discover. And I think that this is definitely the future.
Yeah. Do you think the UNWTO should work more in terms of maintaining open dialogue to continue to support global tourism despite some of the geopolitical tensions that we see?
We are doing only that. This is really at the heart of the work we do.
Yeah.
Intercultural dialogue is definitely part of the DNA, I can say, of the work that we carry out. You certainly know the World Global Code of Ethics,
Yeah.
and the Committee on Tourism Ethics. This is the backbone on which the World Tourism Organization has become a UN agency. So I can say we tend to forget, but the 10 principles of the Global Code of Ethics are really the mainstay of the work we do. And you have not been ignoring that the UNWTO member states met and made some tough decisions with the region. The problem is that in every country today, because of the multicultural dialogue, there is never a black or a white. Many people have both origins, being it in one country or another. So it makes life difficult for both, but as well the impact around those countries is huge and immense on migration, on the impact, on the loss of potential customers, and of course on the loss of capacity to produce food, on the problems related to energy. So these tensions have a repercussion, and I was mentioning earlier the need to be more energy efficient because the energy prices have risen, being it for us individuals or in Europe at least. I mean, I speak to colleagues in Canada, they don't seem to be very much affected by all of this. But I can say in Europe, there is a huge consciousness of the impact of the unrest. Yes.
Yeah. So hopefully we can manage, I guess, those tensions and still support global tourism and local community development. Finally, Zaritza, I want to ask you, what do you think are the UNWTO's key priorities going ahead?
Our key priority is first to listen to what our countries are telling us, because we, as a UN organization, an intergovernmental organization, we are bound to follow what the countries are telling us. They are telling us that there is a shift in the governance model of tourism. So destinations are really at the forefront of accurate attention. But then destination as such doesn't mean much, because you need to look at the uptake of technologies, and you have to look at the aspect of sustainability, being it social sustainability and being it environmental sustainability. And in the social sustainability, I think there is an incredible opportunity as well for education, for I can say creating more jobs and better jobs in the sector. As you know, tourism employed before the crisis 1 out of 10 people in the planet, and about half of those were female. So, and now, as the world is shifting, maybe there is an opportunity for youth as well, because technologies are more associated with young people than they are with other generations. So I think that there is going to be a change in the age range of tourism workers. So we are monitoring all these, I can say closely, accompanying government to shape and I can say craft the right policies, while looking as well at sharing new innovative business models which are taking place today.
Okay, so more responsible, more sustainable, and more inclusive tourism worldwide, I guess. We can talk about global tourism all day, but thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You're watching breaking news on CGTN.
You're watching CGTN with the latest market-moving headlines from around the world.
Welcome to the world today on CGTN.
Welcome back. We turn now from international travel to China's tourism industry. The UNWTO expects Chinese outbound and inbound tourism to accelerate in 2024 thanks to better visa facilitation and improved air capacity. Now, according to numbers tracked by the China Tourism Academy, domestic tourism revenues and total trips are forecast to be some 90% of pre-pandemic levels for 2023. For more on China's tourism sector, I want to bring in Jane Sun, CEO and Director at global travel service provider Trip.com. Jane, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Jane, so when we look at China's tourism sector today, which key drivers are propelling its growth and defining its future, you think?
I think people's desire of traveling and learning is always very strong from the China market. We have been taught by Confucius for 2,000 years that it is better to travel 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books. So from early on, young kids are brought by their parents to travel around the world. Traveling is learning.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about two distinct tourism highlights that we saw here in China, Jane. One is the northeastern city of Harbin, known as China's Ice City. And then another is eastern China's Zibo, known for its simple yet very delicious barbecue. Its barbecue streets, its barbecue skewers. And both Harbin and Zibo now occupy very distinct mindshare amongst Chinese travelers. So talk to us more about what the surge in tourism in Harbin and Zibo means for shifts in travel preferences here in China.
Yes, we're very glad Harbin and Zibo got lots of exposure. That speaks very highly about the importance of the destination marketing. China is very big. The world is very big. How we can help the destinations to better expose themselves for its highlight become very important when we promote a travel destination. Lots of travelers are looking for uniqueness of the travel destination. And these two areas stands out this year as the most popular travel destinations.
Yeah, with the rise in the tourism of these two cities, we see that tourism bureaus across China, they're really engaging in intense competition with each other to see whether or not their town, county, or city can be the next big hit for Chinese tourists. What advice would you give to, let's say, local governments to more successfully attract tourists?
Yeah, travel accounts for 10% of the GDP growth and about 11% of the job opportunities. So we are very glad to see that the local government pay more attention to the travel industry. It requires a lot of clever thinking to promote the uniqueness of its local characters. So the advice we can give the local government is, first of all, understand the destination very well. Secondly, enhance the service level to make sure whoever comes to their province or city are very well taken care of. Thirdly, making sure their uniqueness is very well exposed in the major travel platform so that our customers will be able to see it when they make their decision.
And Jane, so how is Trip.com innovating to provide your customers with a more immersive and memorable travel experience? It seems like a lot of travelers these days are looking for those intangible cultural heritage sites, just very unique experiences that can create lasting memories, unforgettable experiences. So how are you innovating at Trip.com to provide those better experiences?
Sure. We have been very innovative in terms of how big the tour group is, what's the theme we can promote to the targeted market, and what is the uniqueness different based on the different season. For example, my parents' generation, they prefer much to travel in big group because very few of them are fluent in English. But the young generation speak very good English. They prefer to travel in smaller group. So what we innovated to have a private tour group or customized tour to reduce the size of the groups. A typical private tour is that a family will hire a driver, hire a tour guide, and they can arrange their tour based on their need. That is growing very fast.
Yeah.
The second innovation is theme tours. For example, in the winter, many people want to seek for skiing tours. And in the summer, many people will go for diving tours. And in the spring and fall, the hiking trip is very popular. So we organized our tour based on the themes and based on their interest. So it requires us to always think as our customers and stay ahead of the games.
Yeah. Jane, I want to ask you about technology and the importance of innovation on the technological front when it comes to tourism. So how do you think about social media, its role in digital platforms in influencing travel trends and destinations here in China?
Yeah, social media and content generation become very important. So we stress on very factual-based content rather than exaggerating. We want people to see the real comments. So for hotels and attractions, we encourage our customers who have stayed in these hotels, who have toured around these attractions, rank these items so that the future visitors will have a good feeling as to how wonderful these hotels are, how attractive these theme parks are. So the importance for being truthful, being factual is very important. That's why lots of customers will check our sites for review notes before they make a reservation.
And finally, Jane, what's your outlook on China's tourism sector in 2024? So let's talk about the domestic tourism first, domestic travel. And then I also want to get your thought in terms of China's outbound tourism in 2024 as well. So let's start with the domestic side. Do you expect China's tourism sector and domestic travel to fully recover to pre-pandemic levels this year?
As of last quarter, we have already exceeded 2019's level by 50%. And more. So domestic travel is doing very well. The second piece is outbound travel, and we look at both demand side as well as the supply side. The demand side is indicated by our search volume for outbound travel destination. And that number have already exceeded 2019 level by far. However, for the supply side, there are still a couple of hurdles. The first one is the visa application still takes very long time, particularly in Europe and to Americas. That's take anywhere between 1 month to 6 months. The second bottleneck is the flight capacity. Some region is doing well. Some other regions are still in the process of recovery to 2019 level. I'm hoping that in 2024, we'll see a significant improvement for the flight capacity so that we can send more people to the travel destinations around the world.
Yeah. And what about inbound tourism coming to China? Because we have seen recently a number of visa exemption policies between China and several countries around the world. So do you expect more travelers abroad to visit China this year?
Yeah, so China has made a very proactive move in offering free visa. The first batch is for 6 countries, which includes France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Netherlands, and Malaysia. And then there are 2 countries being added, Switzerland and Ireland. And Singapore and Thailand have mutual free visa on both sides. So we are very positive for the improvement for inbound travel. We hope going forward, there will be more relaxation and to make visa application easier. And also the government also are making lots of improvements inside China to make sure all the infrastructure is very well built to welcome the inbound customers.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time, Jane. Jane Sun,
Thank
CEO.
you for having me.
Thank you, Jane. Jane Sun there, CEO and Director of Trip.com. Thank you, Jane.
Thank you.
And that will do it for this edition of Biz Talk here on CGTN. We certainly wish our viewers to keep exploring, and may your travels this year bring you new and unforgettable experiences. I'm Michael Wang here in Beijing. See you next time.